Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Tower of God Chapter 449, or Season 3, Episode 32. Either way, I am recording this right before recording my live reaction for the next chapter, the one that just came out today. So if you're seeing this when you're seeing this up, the live reaction for today's chapter should be up like right after this, because I'm probably gonna work on getting the both of them edited, rendered, uploaded at around the same time, so yeah, the next one shouldn't be up too long after this. But either way, I'm really excited to talk about this chapter because I loved this chapter. And yes, spoiler alert for this review, it's going to get a really high score. I've just generally really loved the story. Like I was saying, ever since around the time that Yama woke up, things have just been really, really good. But let me go through, discuss this chapter a bit, and then at the end, once I'm done discussing the chapter, I just want to have some general time to talk about the story a little bit before I go in and read this, before I read this next chapter. But yeah, first off, let me talk about this chapter though to start off the actual review of this chapter. Starting off the chapter, we get to see Red Thrissa level 2. Looks cool and all. Kanzone grabs onto Gado's leg and mentions that all this time fighting Gado, of course, he has learned a lot about him, including his weak spot. And Gado's weak spot is where his transformed leg attaches to the untransformed part of his body, which makes total sense because the transformed leg is incredibly powerful and he can use it to protect all these other places, but the place where it connects to just this normal fleshy human bit is like that's the weak point of it, and sort of how just generally in any sort of machine or armor the joint is typically a weak point. So I like that. I like how much sense that makes and everything. And of course, while Kanzone is holding him in place, Bam is able to cut off Gado's leg. And I really like how all of this makes sense in a way that it's like what in the blog CU says about Bam, that he's just a regular, but he's also an irregular, so he's a regular that is dangerous. In a normal fight against Gado, Bam would get totally washed, because the thing is, Gado was trying not to hold back, but at the end of the day he was holding back because Bam's a regular. But even if he wasn't holding back, Bam said, okay, the Thrissa has enough power to actually damage him, but I can't really control the Thrissa's power properly, and Gado is way too fast for me. I can't keep up with his speed. But all this worked together to a way where he hits the weak spot on Gado with the Thrissa, which is a weapon that is strong enough to hit him, but he wouldn't have been able to do that without Kanzone coming in and holding him still, providing, I guess, he was the one that provided the distraction, it turned out, for Bam to get in the attack. So again, I like that all of these different things came in to play together to make this make sense, so that Bam gets a cool feat, no pun intended with feet and all that. So Bam gets a cool feat, but it doesn't really make him seem OP or anything. A lot of things had to work together properly in order for him to be able to do this. So I like that. Now we get Yama again, and this is something that we learned in either last week or the week before's blog post, where we learned from Yama that the more he activates his complete transformation, the more he's already in complete transformation form, but the more of his body, where he's only doing like say one arm at a time, the more of his body that he goes into with that full transformation, the greater a burden and a pain it places on himself, which is really cool to show that this great monstrous power that only he can do has this drawback where the more of it he uses, the more of a burden and pain it causes him. So we have a little bit of flashbacky stuff with Yama, and I love all this because I really, really like Yama's character, where he brings up that he's always had trouble sharing, had trouble working with others, but looking at Doom's position, he doesn't really envy the position that Doom is in. Doom's power is one that kind of requires him to go out to work with others, to sort of delegate things and to build a structure of people he's giving his power to. That's something that Yama wouldn't want to have to deal with. But on the other hand, because Yama's always been such a loner and hasn't been good at these things, his power is what he's been able to fall back on, because he didn't have Doom's responsibilities of dividing up power, which is Doom's greatest strength. it made it so that Yama never got weaker by relying on other people. So again, I really, really like Yama's character. I've said it a ton this arc. Yama's just so good. We learned the Red Witch that was with Kelhelm. Her name is Sowo. Kelhelm acknowledges Yama's strength and how he is even comparable to some of the old Slayers and stuff. So Yama's incredibly, incredibly powerful, and it's crazy that Yama is so incredibly powerful, and yet Kelhelm is just like not even breaking a sweat, really. But we get more information that the wall that we've seen before was built between Yama and the peaceful area, and it has both Zahard and his opponent's war heroes sealed within it. Now, it's not totally clear to me if they're sealed as in, oh yeah, Yama and FUG and all just decided, hey, as an offering to peace, we're going to seal our living war heroes in there, so it's basically like a stasis chamber or a prison, or if it's more like a graveyard of a wall, if it's like a mausoleum wall, if it's their actual dead war heroes, but if Yama got a hold to the dead war heroes of both sides, or if Zahard got a hold to the war heroes of both sides, how like crazy powerful he and his forces could be, sort of taking secrets or abilities from their bodies or anything. Because of course, Tower of God science can be a bit wonky. We don't totally know how deep the Shinsu science could go here. So I don't think it's completely clear whether they're sealed there still alive or whether they're dead because of what Kelhelm says later on. But either way, what Kelhelm says is that he doesn't necessarily want to win any war here, he just wants his fellow ancient warriors to rest in peace. Which is what just had me wondering, okay, so are they dead and he wants them to rest in peace within the mausoleum wall or whatever? Or are they just sealed there, and if they were sealed there, why not just want them to be able to be back up? Maybe he just doesn't want them to go into the chaos of endless fighting again. Who really knows? But then they'll be sealed for eternity, which isn't that great a fate, really, at all. But he ends up firing an arrow imbued with Sowo's power, which is incredibly, incredibly cool, the way he's like already super powerful, but then he works with Sowo, whose power is to sort of change the flow of Shinsu and all that, and warp the direction of the flow and all that, and just warps Yama's ass out of there. So it's so cool that Kelhelm is so powerful that no matter how this fight went, it's like we think that Karaka's so cool because it's like, Karaka can get killed and then just come back at one of his respawn points that he sets down. But no, this is even crazier than that. Kelhelm doesn't even have to run away. Kelhelm can say, oh, this fight is getting too much. Bam, you're warped out of there. You're warped like way across the tower to wherever this peaceful area battle is taking place. So it is nuts. It's completely crazy how that works. And how powerful Kelhelm is. But we learn from Company Commander Collar, that's the same position that Drac was in. So this person is presumably, Drac was said to be an advanced ranker, I think, so I don't think that, in Collar it just said ranker, so I don't think they're as strong as Drac. But they're in the same sort of rank as Drac. They're a company commander, and they're telling Kal Rahim that Squadron 5 is going to take the wall. So we learn from there that the wall is not the only one. It's one of several walls that are around this protected area that Zahard promised not to touch, but now Zahard is like, no, because Zahard and the 10 family heads now want to release chaos, and they say, FUG is responsible for the chaos being unleashed. So they're basically like, okay, FUG, you want to bring out all these ancient people, you want to bring out irregulars and slayers and all that, fine, we'll let you have your chaos. We're in charge of the tower anyway. So it's this really interesting thing where it feels like Zahard is doing things to screw up the people that are trying to come after him and to topple his kingdom. Even if it causes a lot more chaos, it all feels premeditated and planned out and very smart. It doesn't seem like Zahard and the 10 family heads are idiots, which is why I like this. I like that we have an opponent that actually seems dangerous, in the long run. Because sometimes you get these evil, villain groups or whatever, and you sort of have to think to yourself, how is it possible that they continue operating? Their operational sense is kind of stupid. It doesn't really make sense that they're able to do the things they do. But with Sahard and the 10 families, it makes sense. They don't seem like idiots. They seem smart. They seem actually dangerous. And it's a small thing, but I like it. From there, Yama, of course, gets teleported into where the wall is. We get to see the 2nd Division Commander, Lopo be a Fusil. So that would be the same position corresponding to Squadron 4 that we saw before, the same position of Hachionhi. We see Lopo be a Fusil, and their armor, I joked around, it looks like something out of like X-Men or something, and I joked around, but it has that same kind of look that Karaka's armor had, and what was the guy's name, Mule had. So I guess it is just the skeleton armor, or whatever skeleton armor is, it's another version of that. But yeah, they have that sort of armor on, and they mentioned something about there only being 2 days left in order for them to do what they need to do. So it's kind of interesting then, if they're calculating, hey, it's 2 days until we think that Kelhelm's going to be marching here to stop us with an army, or if it's 2 days and Sahard said, get this done in 2 days or you're screwed. So we don't know what the context behind that is currently, but it's sort of cool, and it makes me think, again, that the organization is smart enough for it to be a possibility that they think, okay, we have our information network, and we maybe know that Kelhelm's going to be coming in here with an army. That's why we need to do it within 2 days. But either way, we get to see Squadron 5 Commander Yasracha, and Sriracha looks so cool. That's all I can think of whenever I read Yasracha is Lopobia Sriracha. But I like his design a lot. I think it's cool. It got me really hyped going back and like thinking about Elaine and Fenril, and thinking about Alphine and the Shadow Fox. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Yasracha can do. And it's interesting to me that Yasracha looks a lot like Elaine, where we've seen these different branches, and we know that the Lopobia family has a lot of different branches and variety within their family. So Yasracha could potentially be from a branch that's similar to Elaine's. But yeah, they're so cool. I'm hyped to see what we get going on. And yeah, I seriously love everything going on right now for the story. I think Kelhelm especially is just so great. And I'd actually give this 9.5 warp arrows out of 10 because I loved reading it. I had so much fun. But yeah, that's just general. Like I said, I wanted to talk generally about the arc for a few minutes here at the end. Season 3 started out where it was like the first few chapters, I was like, okay, I'm really liking this. I'm really liking how we're starting off. And then after those first few chapters, we kind of got into this period where I was like, see you, I don't know what you're doing with these various things. But it seems like ever since Yama's woken up, Yama's character's been so good. I feel like Bomb's character has been handled so much better in the time since Yama's woken up than he was for a little bit there before that. I think that the side characters have been treated better. I mean, not all of them, obviously. But, like, I think that Kuhn's been handled pretty well this arc. I think that Rak has been handled pretty well. Like, Rak has been getting... Like, he's not just shoved in the background as a comedy relief who does nothing. But he is actually here. He's, like, actually doing stuff, accomplishing stuff. And I really, really like that. And Kelhelm is just great. I love Kelhelm. And, of course, I like Evan Kell, I like Yuan Sung. There's just a lot going on in this arc that I really, really like. Now, if I were to still have some few criticisms of it, I think the few criticisms I would have at this point, I'm not really into the Kanzo and Gato stuff. I've never really totally been into the Kanzo and Gato stuff. And for me, that has a lot to do with the Deng Deng and Louis stuff, just seeming like we barely see any of the Deng Deng and Louis stuff. It seems so unimportant. It seems like this arc could be totally the same if that was handled in some other way. We didn't really need Deng Deng and Louis in the way that we got them. Louis was a character that seemed like they could have been important, and then nothing. I kind of like Jia Lulu, but again, she's kind of been thrown in. I kind of wish we got a little bit more of her in a good, positive way. What was another one I was going to say? And as for Deng Deng himself, I just really can't get into Deng Deng's character because everything about him seems like very similar to Hockney, except nowhere near as good. Where Bomb and Hockney built this sort of mutual friendship in the early Floor of Death, it just feels like the Deng Deng stuff is really just kind of shoehorned and thrown in there. And it's very similar, but nowhere near as good. So all I can think is cheap discount Hockney that's nowhere near as good as the real thing. So yeah, I think if I have one criticism, I don't really care about the Kanzone, Gato, and Deng Deng and Louie stuff very much. And I said that some of the side characters have been handled really well, like a bunch of the ones that are just like, they'll get their moment, they'll get their time to shine, but there's not too much going on. Like, another one I think even that's been handled well enough is Ship and Hatsu. Ship and Hatsu have had a specific role to play, gathering their information, waking up the people they need to wake up, handling what they need to handle, and they have played their role and done it. This is a fight with a bunch of rankers and high rankers. They can't just be going in there and washing people, but at the same time, they can play a positive role, and they have played a positive role. Whereas other characters, I'm disappointed that we haven't seen any Andrasi or Anak, especially that we haven't seen like any Anak since the workshop battle, basically. So I'm a bit disappointed we haven't seen Andrasi and Anak. I would have liked to have seen them. And another big thing is that I really, really feel like Elaine and Hockney should have stayed with Bomb as he came to the cage and did all this. I really feel like Elaine and Hockney should have stayed. It just feels weird that we brought in Elaine and Hockney, and they both, the thing that separates them from, say, like Boro and Sachi. I like Boro and Sachi, but they don't really have anything specific to be doing with Bomb right now. But Hockney and Elaine do have specific reasons to be with Bomb. Now they're with the snake guy in Discount Batis. I think their names were Yule and Kel, but it's been a while. And that's interesting. I wonder if that Kel is like a different type of Kel, or if maybe they're related to Kel Hellam. They're from the same family or something. But I digress. I kind of feel like we got the hints at Yule and Kel and whoever they're working for at the end of Season 2, and we maybe should have given that more time before introducing them. I kind of feel like Hockney and Elaine should have stayed with Bomb as he went to the cage, and Yule and Kel being brought in this early, we really didn't need it. We could have just left them until after this arc. I kind of feel like we could have left them till after this arc. Some other things. It's another thing with Deng Deng too, is there have been, like, throughout the story, it's like, we get Boro in Revolution Road, and I'm like, oh, I hope Boro sticks around in the story. We get Sachi a bit later on, I'm like, oh, I hope he stays around in the story. We get that for Hockney then, we get it for, there was somebody else, Elaine, I was like, I hope Elaine comes back into the story at some point. But now, with this arc, I'm not like, oh, I hope Deng Deng continues in the story, or Louie. I'm like, I don't really care. They can just leave after this arc, and it doesn't really make a difference. I'm not attached to them like other arc characters in the past, where I'm like, oh, I hope this arc character sticks with us. I'm just not like that with Deng Deng and Louie. There was another character I wanted to talk about. Oh, if he is really dead, and it's looking like he probably is, if Cheng is really dead, that's really disappointing and lame. And I've said this before, just because Cheng is a character that we don't get this often for side characters in Tower of God, where Cheng had a lot of different things going on long-term throughout the series, and they all came together to eventually make sense, and it was just generally really good. The way he was written, we don't see it a lot for these minor characters in Tower of God, was really, really coherent in a long-term sort of way, so to then just kill him off seems really weird and out of place and disappointing after his story being one of the more steady ones. Seems a bit odd. And there was another one like, with Varagarv coming in, and then Varagarv in Workshop Battle being like, he didn't speak very often, he was just this big, brutish, powerful guy. And then he comes in, he talks a lot of shit, and Bomb just washes him instantly. Bomb just slaps him. So that's a little bit off too. I think maybe we shouldn't have treated Varagarv quite like that. I know it was kind of set up in order to have Varagarv learning transformation, but it's kind of weird now that Varagarv is just now learning transformation. But either way, killing off Chang too is bad, because we can safely say that Chang probably isn't the third Mad Dog because he was part of Paul's group, because he's only a half canine person. But he knows where Elliot and Angel are. He had the White Heavenly Mirror. So to just kill him off and drop it definitely doesn't seem like something we should be doing story-wise. But we still don't know who the third Mad Dog was at this point, which is sort of interesting. I guess maybe it doesn't matter at this point because we've seen Yama himself. But yeah, either way, I just wanted to... I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. But I just wanted to talk about the arc in general. Some of the things that I really, really, really like, which there's a lot of. And some of the things that... I'm not going to say there's anything in particular that I really dislike. Just some things that I think I kind of would think that would make the arc better. Like, I don't care about the Dang Dang and Louie stuff. Maybe try to make that better, or alter that would make the arc better for me. Or maybe if we had Elaine and Hockney in here, I think it would make the arc better for me. Things like that. So yeah, there's nothing I really hate, and it's like it's not like there's anything that's there that I don't want to be there. It's just that there's stuff that's not there that I'm like, it'd be even better if it was there. Or maybe stuff that is there that I'm like, it's aight. Like the Kanzo Nagato stuff. It's aight. I don't really care that much about it, but it's aight. It's not like terrible, but it isn't very particularly good either. So maybe there's some stuff that is there that could be done better. But yeah, I guess that's about where I am at this point. So either way, it's funny. I was saying that I don't really care about Dang Dang or Louie continuing on in the story, but I think to myself, I'm like, I really hope Yama and Doom continue on in the story. And I'm not even a very big fan of Doom. I just think that his I'm not a personal big fan of him, but I think his character works well with the story to continue on in it. I think that Doom's definitely a character that's going to have his, not really redemption, but his moment where he's like, okay, I basically want the same things as you guys, let's work together. Same thing with Kelhelm. I think Kelhelm is, at this point, if Yama isn't the one to defeat him, and it looks like Yama's not going to be the one to defeat him, at this point, I'm thinking Kelhelm's just going to be like, you know what? End of the day, I'm with FUG, you're with FUG, let's just all get along. I kind of feel like that's where we're going if Yama's not the one to defeat him, and it doesn't seem like he is. So yeah, I guess that's where I'm going to end this here. There was nothing in the blog really super important for me to throw in, I don't think. I read it over and I was like, yeah, there's nothing really important to throw in, but I'm going to end this here. I knew this video would be a bit on the longer side, but maybe that's just me being like, here's a little bit extra since you had to wait for a while. But I just wanted to talk about the arc a bit, because I've been really excited about Tower of God lately. I'd love to do a few discussion videos if I get some time, like maybe late November, early December, if I catch up to everything I'm behind on and I get some time. There are a few discussion videos I would love to do. But yeah, I'm going to end this one here. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that. For much more on the channel. Sorry, I had a hiccup coming on. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or talk to you there. If you'd like a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord, it's free and open for anyone, and all you got to do is ask and I'll give you a link. And if you would like to help support the channel on Patreon so that I can keep continuing to make videos, it's patreon.com/HakuOfTheTubes, or a link will be in the description. And also patrons get to give suggestions and vote on new series for the channel whenever I go about adding new series for the channel. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.